Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
December 12, 2022, Roland Martin Unfiltered, broadcasting live from Atlanta here, 30th anniversary of Operation Hope, their Global Hope Forum, streaming live on the Black Star Network. We'll talk to John Hope Bryant, the founder of Operation Hope, about this event, about the folks they've had speaking thus far. We've been streaming the event all day. In addition, Senator Raphael Warnock opened the conference last night, his first public comments since winning of the U.S. Senate seat, the re-election. We'll show you some of what he had to say. And also, the head of the SBA, I get to talk with her about what the Biden administration is doing to create more opportunities for black-owned businesses. Folks, we got all of that and a lot more right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. It's time to bring the funk. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on Go, Roll, Roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, we are live. We are live here in Atlanta at Operation Global Hope's Hope Global Forum. As you see, folks assembled here. It opened up last night. Before they even officially opened, there was a long waiting line. Of course, it has returned last year after COVID, but folks were just jam-packed, excited, and ready to go. It kicked off last night with a variety of speakers. The keynote attraction was U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock. We'll show you a little bit later what he had to say about bipartisanship in Washington, D.C., and we're like working with Senator Ted Cruz. Shocker. It's been quite a busy day today with various speakers. If you look at our Black Star Network, we'll look at our YouTube channel on all platforms. We've been live streaming this event since 9 a.m. this morning. So if you missed it, go back and check it out. So the person you've seen on stage chatting with a lot of different people here, the founder of Operation Hope, John Hope Bryant, he joins us right now. John, what's going on?
I'm proud to be a Black Star Network, I guess, a subscriber. And I think I was one of the first who supported your network. I'm honored by that. I'm honored by what you're doing, and we're proud of what you're doing. I think it's important for Black America, but it's important for America. I mean, it's important to have an independent voice like this that speaks truth, and sometimes truth to power. And you come straight, and you come consistent, and generally you come correct. I just like the way you do it, and I'm honored to have you here.
You said something earlier, and Andrew Young has told that story where you said when he was being picketed by some folks, and they had to let him know, like, I know we were cool.
Well, actually, they weren't picketed by some folks. He was, of course, for those who are not students of history, Andrew Young was on that balcony when Dr. King was assassinated. He was lieutenant of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. throughout the civil rights movement. And he assumed that all the civil rights leaders were, back at that time, boys. It was mostly boys, mostly men. Like, hey, you're my dude. So after the movement, he went on to other parts of his life. And when he became mayor, he was shocked that the day he became a mayor of Atlanta, all the civil rights leaders that were his boys were on the picket line. And he said, well, what the heck are you guys doing out there? You're my friends. And they're like, no, we're not your friends. You're the mayor. So we're here to hold you accountable.
Right.
So it was a wake-up call for them in education, and they found a way to look. You can disagree without being disagreeable, and you can have constructive friction where you find somebody who has a different view of yours, and it makes you better. It's called a critique, not a criticism. And I think that's what the point we were trying to make.
And it's also understanding in terms of what roles we play. Again, so for me, I tell folk, my philosophy has always been the same. If you do good, I'm going to talk about you.
Yeah.
If you do bad, I'm going to talk about you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm going to talk about you.
You know,
so it's just like, look, and that there's a role for those kind of people.
Yeah. So I was talking to Rashida Jones, who's the president of MSNBC, who's a friend, and Ambassador Young, me and Bishop T.D. Jakes and Ben Chavis, and also many. We're so proud of her, and the fact that she's the first black woman ever to run a network.
No. First African American. No African American. She was the first African American to run a news network.
So not just black woman.
Kim Godwin became the president of ABC News
Okay.
about 2 months after her. So Kim became the first black network president.
Yeah.
So Rashid is the first black news president, cable or broadcast.
Period.
First African American.
Yeah.
Not just woman.
Yeah, and you know, to underscore how important that is, she's running a balance sheet. She's running an income statement. She's running licensing agreements. She's not just doing she's not just, it's not just what you're watching in Connecticut or North Carolina. I mean, it's the whole nation, largest economy in the world,
Right.
all these licensing agreements. And very few people understand the pressure she's under and the multi-dimensions that she has to deal with. And she said to me, you know, I respect Roland. I like Roland. And we may disagree on a couple of things, but I respect and like him. And then you've told me, and you're saying right now how much you respect her. And that's really the larger issue, is that at the end of the day, we may have brush fires and disagreements from time to time. The larger issue is we all rise together.
On that point, so you have people who are coming through here, a number of major CEOs, and the people who are challenging them on their diversity numbers, on their black-owned media spin, on their spin with black-owned companies, and you do it differently than others. Yeah. There are those who are external. I always say external always works with internal when we're trying to achieve the same thing. And so
there's a protest strategy to life, and there's a partnership strategy to life. Protesting strategy may get you to change your policies, but partnership gets you to change your perspectives. What I'm trying to do is get people to change the culture of their environments, not just the transaction that's in front of us.
For me, it's not either or.
Yes,
it's actually and.
Oh, absolutely. And that wasn't a statement obviously for you, it's for the audience. It's just understanding different.
Absolutely.
Bob Gnezda, who you know has since passed on to glory, he negotiated it was back then, it was $1 trillion in commitments for Community Reinvestment Act a decade ago with banks. And Bob used to tell banks, you need to talk to me. You need to talk to John, who's talking about partnerships. Because if you don't want to talk to John, you really don't want to talk to me, because I'm about protesting. And he'd light him up. and I would tell him, if you don't want to talk to me, you really don't want to talk to Bob Gnezda.
Right.
We were working the same street, just different size, and it was a different strategy. And, you know, you'd hope to think that people don't need to be beat over the head with the truth. Every now and then, you'll have a Rodney King riot, or you'll have something that is episodic in our community because we've let these issues percolate. And I'd like to think that I do know, actually, I don't have to think, we're in a different moment right now. We have a real shot at social justice through an economic lens. We have a shot between now, I call it the third reconstruction, as you know.
That's why I use black economic social justice.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Civil rights.
Right.
Between 2020 and 2030, I really believe that that we can, if we're prepared to walk through the door,
right.
You're prepared to walk through the door, and a lot of other people are, but a lot of people aren't, that we can have change that is, you know, in 10 years that rivals change in the last 100.
We have talked about this numerous times, and we were having a conversation when your previous book came out, and I was saying, oh, yeah, I was using Third Reconstruction. Reverend William Barber's book is called Third Reconstruction because the first two were about, look, the Reconstruction Amendments, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. The second one was really the Civil Rights Movement, Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, Fair Housing Act. Yeah. But both of them failed, not because folks did not want it, but they failed to deal with the money.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you can pass all these different laws, right, but if you do not confront the money, then you're not having an American conversation.
And that's the conversation going on here. And to summarize, or to simplify, because you have a very sophisticated mind, Roland, to simplify a complicated topic, I think, First Reconstruction was about freedom, 1800s. Second Reconstruction was about access, really the 20th century, the 1900s. The Third Reconstruction, and each of these periods lasts about 10, 15 years.
Yep.
The Third Reconstruction is about opportunity. That's now, in my opinion, 2020 to at least 2030. And opportunity means the color is no longer black or white or red or blue. It's green. And we need to get more of it, not just making the money, cashing the check, But building wealth, which you make overnight, which is writing the check. It's also compounding the check through real estate, equity, appreciation, stocks and bonds, annuities, things that build education, that compound overnight. We make money during the day. We don't understand, blacks, my people don't understand, our people don't understand how we build wealth, which is at night, it's overnight. No one's ever taught us that game. It's what we don't know that we don't know that's killing us, but we think we know. We build relationships in red rooms, fight racism, fight bias, fight discrimination, police brutality. We can call people all over the country for red room access. We need green rooms, access to credit, access to capital, access to opportunities, access to franchises, access to relationship capital that can help you to go on the next step. I joke about this, but I'm really serious. If you hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. And I tell folks, if you want to not be poor, do the exact opposite of what poor people do. We've got to upgrade our software. We're smart enough to do 2 things at one time. We can do civil rights and civil rights.
Well, and that was, when I had a conversation with Reverend Andrew Young, we talked about that. And even last night, in the discussion with Reverend Warnock, to the folks in the control room, be sure that's a part of the clip where he talked about what people forget. And Reverend Ambassador Young reminded me of this as well. Everybody forgets Daddy King was a capitalist.
That's right.
He owned stuff. Right. He was not just a preacher.
That's right.
He owned businesses.
Yeah.
And he said Martin had a different view of capitalism.
That's right.
But his growing up, he saw black entrepreneurship.
That's right.
So everybody keeps talking about MLK in his speeches. I keep telling them, go back and listen to the last 5 years of his life. There were radical economic speeches that he was talking about and that people today don't really want to focus on.
I love that you know your stuff. I don't have to fill in the blanks. But for the audience's sake, it's really important to understand that Daddy King served on the board of a bank for 40 years, Citizens Trust Bank. That Daddy King's, the grandfather, Dr. King, A.D. Williams, owned all that real estate around what we now call the King Center. The reason that Coretta Scott King, God bless her soul, was able to build the King Center what she did because they owned all that real estate. There was a time, Roland, where they called him Marty, Dr. King, was playing with a little white kid in the neighborhood. The father said, you can't play with my kid anymore, and told his white kid, you can't play with Dr. King anymore. We call him Dr. King. Pulled him back. He had a little store. Daddy King had to quietly remind the store owner, you own the store, but I own the land underneath the store. So you probably should watch how you talk to my son before you don't have a place to discriminate from. And by the way, I don't understand why we are arguing with our Jewish brothers and sisters. That is the Jewish business model. Like, they went and got economic justice and then went and used that to get their social justice. Their civil rights. We went and got civil rights first, and now we're trying to figure out the economics. Most folks went and got the economics first and used that as a strength finder to go get their appropriate social justice and civil rights.
But as we also know with that history.
It wasn't a choice for us.
But right, it wasn't a choice for us. And we also know, which you know very well when it came to the Freedmen's Bank, money that was frankly stolen from us, and there was no bank bailout for those freed slaves.
That's right. Half of the deposits were lost, stolen in 1865. In fact, Frederick Douglass, this is another good point. Frederick Douglass, who you know to be an abolitionist, was a businessman who owned $6 million worth of affordable housing real estate. He rented it out to working class blacks. That gave him the financial freedom in Baltimore. By the way, you can go to Baltimore and see the marker where there's historical markers where he rented out those houses. And that gave him the financial freedom to become a social justice or civil rights leader. And he put money in that bank to try to save it. He also ran the bank. But, Roland, let's go back to the King family for a minute. Shimon Peres once said to me, John, people are going to criticize you for the work you're doing. When they do, you remind them of this. Even if you want to distribute money like a socialist, you got to first collect it like a capitalist. Boom. Drop the mic. People who say, oh, John, all we got to do, you're making this too complicated. let's just have all the rich people redistribute the wealth. Okay, let's try that. Have all the rich people redistribute the wealth to everybody equally. My prediction, within 3 to 5 years, the 3% who gave you the money will have it back. Because it's not about having it, it's about keeping it. It's about generating it. It's about making it. I can give $1 million to a homeless guy out of compassion in my heart because I just won the lottery at an off-ramp in Atlanta. And within 6 months, if that's all I do, he'll be broke again. Because if nothing changes here and nothing changes here, nothing's going to change here.
It's funny. That was a story. That was a guy out of Detroit, and he hit the lottery. Mm-hmm. And he took it and went and bought about $30,000 in jewelry.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
And then he got robbed.
Yes. And 70% of those who win the lottery are broke within 5 years. 70%. 70% of those in NFL are broke within 5 years of retirement.
I'm going to do this here.
About the same in the NFL, in the NBA, by the way.
I'm going to take a 2-minute break when we come back. I want to ask you specifically about, with all of the different people who are here, all these different major donors and CEOs, how do you hold them accountable to follow through on their promises? And so, folks, we're broadcasting live from the Global Hope Forum here in Atlanta. We'll be right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You want to support us in what we do? Join our Bring the Fuck fan club. We don't have millionaires and billionaires funding our show. Just regular, ordinary folk with those $1, $5, $10, $25, $50, $100 checks. I appreciate all of them. Checking money orders. Send a P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And don't forget a copy of my book, White Fear: How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at all bookstores. Order it from a black bookstore. Also, download it from Audible. We'll be right back.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
This is Judge Mathis.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Mac Wiles, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Atlanta Global Hope Forum here. I'm Roland Martin here with the founder of Operation Hope, John Hope Bryant. John, before we went to the break, I the question, how do you hold them accountable? Because one of the things that we've seen since the death of George Floyd 20, 30, 40, 50 billion dollars in commitments announced by these companies. Most of them press releases.
Yeah,
and so when folks are coming here, when they're speaking on the platform, they're talking about how great the things that they're doing. How do you hold them accountable to make sure that what they say they are doing or they should be doing or want to be doing, they actually do?
Yeah, it's a great question. We believe in a quote by our friend who's chair of Starbucks when she says that I love the math because it doesn't have an opinion. We have a data room at Operation Hope, a research institute that tracks all the commitments. We track every commitment that's made. I love the data because it's non-emotional. It doesn't require screaming and hollering. It doesn't require finger pointing. It doesn't require emotionalism. Either you did it or you didn't do it. And so you have a commitment. You have a timeline against that commitment. You got results against that commitment. And we track those results against commitments. We have been tracking commitments to Operation Hope. We are going to commit to track all of the commitments against the $62 billion so that people can come to one source and find out how companies are doing. I found, Roland, also, in most cases when the companies are not achieving them, they mean well. They just have no connectivity to our community. They made a commitment, their CEO or whoever got excited or got emotional or got moved by or hurt by what they saw on TV, came in as CEOs, made a leadership decision. We're going to do something about it. I'm telling you to do it. The person said, yes, boss, didn't know how in the heck they're going to do it.
Right.
And then they issued a press release and said, whoo, hope the boss doesn't ask me about that again.
Well, it's funny because after George Floyd's death, I know, for example, YouTube made this announcement, $100 million spent on black content creators. And so I immediately sent an email. All right. And so when we finally got the meeting, they're like, well, we actually made the announcement. Don't have a plan yet. And I'm like, okay, well, there's some of us, we ready.
Right.
So it was like,
right.
And my whole deal was, again, all these big announcements, $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion. No, it's called having a plan because there are people like me. We're ready. When we're challenging these companies on advertising.
So a fourth of this stuff's not real. I don't mean it's a lie. I mean, it's not what we think it is. We think it's a grant or we think it's money in your pocket. And really, it's something that is a sophisticated financial instrument that they understand and we don't, that counts as a commitment. For instance, a bank, this is an easy one. A bank's going to do mortgages in black neighborhoods.
Right.
They were already going to do mortgages in a black neighborhood. They just decided to do $10 billion. They said, well, let's do $15 billion. But they're always going to do mortgages in a black neighborhood. So we think that we can call them and get them to send us a check. That's not the way it works. They're like, no, become a homeowner and we will make a commitment to
that's why for me, my whole deal is, all right, y'all spending $3 billion on marketing.
But by the way, that's still important if people want to become homeowners.
I tell them, you spending $3 billion on marketing, advertising. We want anywhere from 5 to 8 to 10% to be targeted to black-owned media. I said, it's called math.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, who would you spend it with?
Yeah.
And then what then happens is, like I was sort of having this conversation with the head of the SBA. I said how they tried to put in these mechanisms which you would never be able to hit, these metrics. So like one company, I won't name the company, they were like, oh, we're doing a $500,000 deal with you, Roland. I'm like, yeah, but let's break down.
There's no way you're going to hit the metrics.
Your metrics, you put in $11 million, and then you purposely said we couldn't advertise on Roland Martin Unfiltered because you want to call it brand safe, and so you chose 2 shows that are new that will never ever hit $11 million.
Yeah.
I said, so we better have a separate conversation.
So for the audience, listen, everybody watching this, I don't want you going out there and acting like Roland Martin and busting down doors and cursing people out and telling them what they can't do. And that works for Roland. Roland's unique in the world, right?
Well, I don't want to have to do it.
But even when he does do it, he's got a network. He's one of the top 10 voices, top 5 voices for Black America. You don't want to get on me. In America, most of us have to do this through evolution, not revolution. That's most progress is through evolution. You don't have to knock down doors. You don't have to say somebody. Here's my way I roll. We have a different approach. We respect each other. Talk without being offensive. Listen without being defensive. And always leave even your adversary with their dignity. Because if you don't, they'll spend the rest of their life trying to make you miserable. It becomes personal. If you embarrass somebody, you humiliate somebody, they may do one thing to get you off their back. They'll never do anything else with you. They don't like you. People don't do business with people they don't like. They just don't. You don't, I don't, and the white folks won't, okay? And the corporations won't. So you need to be more elegant in your approach. I'm not looking at you, Roland. You need to be more sophisticated, more elegant, more patient. Folks who have not had progress for 400 years are not going to solve your problem in 4 months. It don't work that way. You can demand it all you want. You may end up overshooting your target and ending up in the ocean and drowning. So I would suggest that you be inspired by Roland, listen to his examples, but you might need to tone your approach down a tad bit and understand that real success happens actually in increments.
But see, I don't always blow them up.
If it goes to 10% and they make it and they're at 0, 2 to 3% actually is progress.
Yeah, but I ain't gonna. But I ain't waiting.
I know.
Look.
What did Dr. King say? How long?
Hey,
not long.
How long? Not long. And his book was called Why We Can't Wait.
That's right.
And I had to explain. Somebody was telling me, they're like, well, you know, these things take 20, 25 years. I said, listen, I am 54. Matter of fact, I was having this conversation with somebody who was 78, and they were like, these things take time. I said, bruh, every day you got is over the median average for a black man. Your ass ain't got time to be waiting. I said, so I have a different level of patience. No. And there has to be that sense of urgency because, and again, I'll do the meeting. I'll be cool.
By the way, this is a common ongoing debate with me and Roland.
And I tell them, I don't open up cussing folk out.
Yeah.
I don't put them on blast. I do all the regular stuff.
Yeah.
But if you keep putting obstacles in the way, and you keep giving me BS, as I told one company, I don't praise you for press releases.
I got you.
I will praise you when you make direct deposits.
Well, I'll also praise them when they hire a director of diversity. I'll also praise them when they put processes in place for contracting and sustainability to attract the minority contracting.
I'm praising for that direct deposit.
I understand. These are both
cut the check
of progress. I understand there's an end of the story. Can we please start there? Please understand, folks watching this, the reasons you're here listening to Roland saying what he's going to do is because I created an institution over 30 years that took time and patience to nurture the environment where he could then say, I want it now. You don't need one or the other. You need both.
Bro, and right. And again, you need somebody like me who's that pit bull.
Yeah.
And then you need somebody like John, because John gonna be in the meeting and say, you know I got Roland on speed dial. So don't.
It's actually accurate.
But that's what I'm saying. So what people don't understand is folk work together to get stuff done, and you need to have that pit bull so they can know. Now you know it's a pit bull standing outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
So y'all might want to go ahead and do the deal, which is why I tell people we're supposed to talk before the meeting.
Yeah.
So okay, John, this is what I need.
Yeah.
We're looking for. So let them know.
You need to do extra weights to keep this thing on your hand. I mean, is it like you gotta like lift weights to?
Well, you know,
you gotta like do finger ups, not push ups.
See, that's what happens when you decide to accept becoming a Sigma. You have to always kiss the ring of the Alpha.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
And even Ambassador Andrew Young was like, I'm an alpha. I ain't got one of those. I said, I'll hook you up, Ambassador. I said, I'll hook you up. I'll hook you up.
That's tough.
Well,
I can cook an egg on that thing.
Well, you know, they had a smaller ring. I said, but if you're gonna get a ring,
just do
get a ring.
Yeah, like Roland does everything super soft.
No. And then when you're on the airplane in first class and a white person next to you go, hey, was it from playing football? I don't play football. I've never played football.
Oh, I love this one. People say, are you an entertainment attorney? No. Are you a sports figure? No, but thank you for the compliment. What are you? I'm an entrepreneur. Excuse me? You're an entrepreneur? Are you in entertainment or sports? Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But no, I'm in finance and real estate, and so on. So I build businesses. Very quiet, very understated. No need to holler, and they are fascinated and somewhat
shocked and stunned. The absolute, we're going to end it with this one here because your chief of staff, she's giving me the evil eye because you got a dinner to go to.
Yeah.
Peter Bino.
But I love you, man.
Attorney in Chicago.
Yeah.
Peter like about 5'5".
Yep.
In first class, guy goes, well, you're too short to play basketball, and you're not big enough to play football, so how you in first class?
Whoa.
Peter, $2,000 an hour attorney, he said, I'm the biggest drug dealer in Chicago. And opened his Wall Street Journal and read it. For the rest of that flight, that dude was freaking out, like, what the hell? And Peter did not care.
Right.
And let him know. Now, Peter's a major attorney. Used to be a minority owner for the Denver Nuggets. Yeah. But he wanted him to be freaking out the entire
I'm sure the guy probably still freaked out. Look, what I want people to hear from me here on a serious note is, I mean, I'm so much respect for what Roland has built. He has his own network. He has all these publishing rights he's got of all these interviews. His probably the most valuable asset Roland has is his inventory of his library of interviews, his content, which is like Prince having a music portfolio or Michael Jackson having a music portfolio. He's got this portfolio of tapes, interviews, which are priceless and will ultimately be how you're able to chill in the Bahamas and relax. He's building wealth. He's making money right now, but he's building wealth at night. I want us to learn how to make money, but not obsess about it. I want us to learn how to build wealth. The big thing is we're living in a moment in history, everybody. But history does not feel historic when you're sitting in it. It just feels like another day. But that doesn't mean the moment's not historic, and that doesn't mean you can't be a history player, a history maker. We're all living in this moment. We all have a role to play, not just Roland Martin, not just John Hope Bryant, not just an Ambassador Andrew Young, not just tomorrow Bishop T.D. Jakes and Charlemagne and all these and T.I. and Killer Mike. All these people are amazing. The CEO of Walmart will be here, number one Fortune 500 company. You want no respect? Number one Fortune 500 company in the world. CEO will be here tomorrow. CEO of PayPal will be here tomorrow. That's fantastic. But that's actually not how you change the world. You all becoming homeowners, sending your kids to college, talking about financial literacy at the kitchen table, explaining these lights don't come on by themselves.
That's right.
Explain between a proper car loan and a Mercedes with a predatory loan, which means it is Mercedes payments. It's understanding what it takes to start a business and sustain it, to build wealth in your sleep. Get you some health insurance. Get you a will. Get you a term life insurance policy. Build wealth so that your family's better off than you were yesterday. It's not complicated. We can do it. When the rules are published and the playing field is leveled, we kill it. Professional sports, professional or entertainment, and politics. We kill it. Why can't we do it in engineering?
Right.
Why can't we do it in math? Why can't we do it in business management? Why can't we do it in real estate? Why can't we do it in finance? Why can't we do it in all the other trades that drive this economy? The reality is we can. Roland, I won't mention the name because we all know who it is, but a billionaire told me, he said, look, when an entertainer, when a sports figure goes into a white classroom to speak, they want his autograph. When a sports figure goes into a black classroom, 90% of the classroom wants to be him. We cannot have 40 million black folks trying to be 3,000 entertainers and 3,000 sports figures. Those numbers don't work. Admire them, love them, want their autograph, that's cool, but figure out how we're going to own the stadium and not just play in it.
That's it. John, always a pleasure. Bishop T.D. Jakes is tomorrow. Killer Mike, T.I., Ambassador Andrew Young, so many others. Folks, don't forget, watch the live stream on the Black Start Network. John, I appreciate it. You got dinner to go to. Basically, appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Come on, huh? That's right. It's called Alpha's Your Daddy. Tell all the Sigmas that. I appreciate it, John. Thanks a bunch. Thanks for being a supporter. Going to a break. When we come back, my panel, we'll talk with them. We'll also hear from Senator Raphael Warnock. We'll hear from the head of the SBA. All of that as we broadcast here from Operation Global Hope Forum, from the Global Hope Forum, sponsored by Operation Hope, the 30th anniversary. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
On the next A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, 'tis the season, tree trimming, party going, and gift giving. And I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes it can be overwhelming, and sometimes it's just downright exhausting. Surviving the holiday season, we got tips for you for staying sane, solvent, striving, and thriving, and sometimes keeping a little money in your pocket.
2 things just out of the gate: set boundaries and set a budget.
On A Balanced Life, right here on Black Star Network with me, Dr. Jackie.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, inflation is on the rise. Interest rates are high. Can you still thrive during these uncertain times? On the next Get Wealthy, you're gonna meet a woman who's done just that, living proof of what you need to do to flourish during these uncertain times.
These are times where you take advantage of what's going on. This is how people get rich or richer.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Vivian Green.
Hey everybody, this is your man Fred Hammond, and you're watching Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Atlanta at the Global Hope Forum here, folks. But we're also covering some other news in Fort Worth. The former Fort Worth police officer who shot and killed Atatiana Jefferson, Aaron Dean, took the witness stand today. He was the first witness the defense called in his murder trial. This is what he said today while he was asked why he waived his Fifth Amendment rights. He said the jury needs to hear from me and hear the truth.
Aaron, when you looked into the window, did anything catch your eye?
Yes.
Can you explain that to the jury?
As I looked through that window, low in the window, I observed a person. Couldn't tell black, white, male, female. I saw the torso, horizontal, bent over, horizontal, and could see about this much up on the arm, and then about the same on the leg, just the upper leg to the hip. And the upper arms, I could tell there was movement, like the upper arms were moving, like someone was reaching for something or grasping.
Did this torso, this silhouette, is it okay to use silhouette?
Silhouette, yes.
Were they near the window or away from the window based on what you could see at the time?
Very close to the window.
You've seen your video.
Yes.
Are you able to see into the room where the camera cannot?
Yes.
When you see this silhouette of a torso, would you say it's an adult torso or a juvenile torso?
It was an adult torso.
Aaron, when you see that adult torso at the window, what do you do?
Well, I thought we had a burglar, so I stepped back, straightened up, and drew my weapon, and then pointed it towards the figure. I couldn't see that person's hands, and we're taught that the hands, and it's what's in them that kill. We need to see the hands. We need to get people to show us our hands and get control of those hands. So I drew my weapon, intending to tell that person to show me their hands. Well, as I said, I needed to see that person's hands, because the hands carry weapons. The hands are the threat to us. So I looked back after I got my light on, saw the silhouette again, and I was shouting at this time, shouting commands. Put up your hands. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. And as I started to get that second phrase out, show me your hands, I saw the silhouette. I was looking right down the barrel of a gun. And when I saw the barrel of that gun pointed at me, I fired a single shot from my duty weapon. and immediately had the flash from the muzzle reflecting off the window. And of course, as my weapon recoiled, the light was bouncing back in my face, so I couldn't see. When my vision cleared, then I observed the person that we now know as Miss Jefferson. I heard her scream and saw her fall like this. And I knew that I'd shot that person.
Aaron, when you first picked up this firearm pointed at you, how close to the window were you?
Picked up, you mean saw?
Yes, sir.
Visually picked up. Very close. Not any more than arm's length.
This may be an obvious question, but I need to ask you. You see the weapon. Is it in the silhouette's hand? What do you see?
I just saw the silhouette of the person and the gun. I don't recall seeing hands, but I did see that weapon pointed at me.
Legal analyst Candace Kelly joins us right now. Candace, glad to have you right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Look, here's an officer who is trying to save his hide, obviously. The fact of the matter is his own partner testified she never saw a gun. She never heard him introduce himself as a police officer. Look, you don't have, it's not like you have a diverse jury here, but he had no choice but to take the witness stand after that devastating testimony last week from his own partner.
Absolutely, Roland. And I think what's key is what you said, is that he is someone who did not follow police protocol. We even had the former chief of police say such, that he did not de-escalate, that he did not say who he was. And even when he did say, as you said, hey, raise your hand, he didn't even give Atatianna enough time to actually do anything in terms of revert or say who she was. He just said, put your hands up, and then he shot. She only had a split second to do anything if she was allowed to do anything and if she was able to do anything, but it just was not enough time. His partner who took the stand was a really crucial time period in this whole case, which it wasn't a very long case. The prosecution only took 2.5 days to really try to make their case. But what she did was she established the fact that they did not do what he was supposed to do. And then he got on the stand today for most of the day, and then he co-signed on that fact. At every single turn, the prosecution pounced on him and asked him, was this good police procedure? Was this good policing? And every single time, almost, he said, this was just bad policing. This was just not the way to do it. So it was very interesting to see him want to get on the stand, tell the truth, but the truth is something that led him to some waters that were very, very dirty, Roland. And you train your client to get on the stand, you train your client to go through cross-examination, but I don't think that they would have expected that he would do this. And at the end of the day, he didn't show a lot of contrition. This is what people who are part of the jury like to see. They like to see that someone is remorseful. He said that would he do it all over again? He said that he would. So, and none of this really kind of worked out the way I think that he thought it would in terms of him telling his truth.
Wait a minute. He literally sat there and said, yeah, I didn't follow proper police protocol and I would do it again?
That's right. And gave himself the grade of a B.
Dude, fall on your sword.
Yeah. Yep. This, I think it's just one of those things where, as you said, he had to establish a couple of things. One, that he feared for his life. Two, that he saw this gun being directed at him. Even though his partners, said that she didn't say it because her back was perhaps, to the house. But here's what was interesting that stood out. Even though he said he saw a gun, when his partner went into the house, he didn't announce, hey, listen, I see a gun. So before you go in there, I need to warn you. This is when the prosecution asked, well, do you even like your partner? Because when she went into the house and you claim you saw a gun, you didn't warn her about the fact in your head that somebody did have a gun that was shooting right at you. So it's so many different turns. He got himself caught up.
Which is what cops normally do.
That's right.
This is what cops normally do. You're warning your partner. Look, look, at the end of the day, and here's the other deal, Candace. I'm born and raised in Texas. You can have a gun in your own house.
That's right. You can have a gun in your own house, which should have put them, on a different level of understanding how people are going to act when they are in their own house. He spent the whole day just not making sense. And I don't think that when it comes for him, setting out to do what he intended to do, that was accomplished at all.
This is, look, we see this all the time. The actions these police officers make and the impact they have. And people say, oh, they're split-second decisions. This is a perfect example where you didn't even have to go inside. It was a wellness check about a door being open.
It was. Now, he claims on the stand that he thought that this was a burglar, a burglary that was in the process because the doors were open. Things seemed kind of ransacked. But again, when we're talking about police protocol, he did not follow it. He did not help. He acted unprofessional, according to the former police chief. And this is, this was a case that came right after the Amber Geiger case. So this was already a community that was really fueled up already in terms of what was happening in the police force. Over that previous 6 months, 5 people had been killed by the police. So this was a community that was on alert, and police who were on alert too, that everybody needs to play their role. And even with that, this is someone who went in and did the complete opposite of his training. And again, the prosecution got him to admit that on the stand. But what he wanted to do, and this is why he wanted to get on the stand, and this is the takeaway, was to prove that he felt that his life was that he was in fear of bodily harm. And so that's why he had to establish that gun in his face. Now, if you look at the video camera, and this is the second person who took the stand, is someone who was a video analyst. They said, there's really no way to really tell. So that's why this is all going to be in the hands of the jury. It really is kind of a he said, and then from the grave, a she said, as well as her nephew, Zion, who took the stand. At the time this happened, he was 8 years old, 11 years old. He testified yesterday and said that his aunt had the gun down by her side and did not have it in front of that window. Now, years ago, he did say that she did have the gun pointed. So I think that's going to be neither here nor there. Again, it is in the jury's hands. It's going to be 8 men, 6 women who are going to decide the fate of this officer. Now, there are no blacks who were on this jury. I understand there are about 3 to 4 who might be people of color, Indians, Latinos. But this is where our civic duty really, Roland, comes into place. If you get those paperwork in the mail, you take your civic duty and you make sure that you get on that jury, because these are the people who matter ultimately and will probably be into the jury's hands by next week.
Candace Kelly, a legal analyst. We certainly appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.
All right, Roland, good to see you.
All right, folks, going to a break. We come back. Hot topics with our panel. We'll talk about the issue of predatory capitalism. Juliana Malvo loves that phrase. And we'll also talk about Mark Curry experiencing significant racism at a hotel in Colorado. What the hell was this guy thinking? Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Download the Black Star Network app, available on all platforms: Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You can support us by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And of course, you can get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available on all platforms. Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Download it from Audible. Order through your favorite black bookstore. I'll be right back.
I am on screen, and I am representing what a black man is to the entire world that's going to see this. And this might be the only black man, a representation of a black man that they see.
Right.
So I am responsible.
Right.
For how they see black men. And it's my responsibility to, if I am not playing an upstanding, honorable, someone with a strong principle or moral core, to make sure that this character is so specific.
Right.
That it is him, not black men. And I wish that more actors would realize how important their position is as an actor of color, playing people of color on screen. Because there are people that see us all over the world in these different images that we portray. And not everyone knows black people to know.
Yes.
That's not all.
I'm Dion Cole, and you're watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Stay woke.
All right, folks, welcome back to Atlanta. Roland Martin Unfiltered here at the Global Hope Forum. Bringing my panel right now, Dr. Julianne Malveaux. Of course, she's the Dean, College of Ethnic Studies at California State University in Los Angeles. Dr. Amakongo Dibinga, Professorial Lecturer, School of International Service, American University. Dr. Avis Jones DeWeber, Political Analyst. Glad to have all three of you here. Julianne, I want to start with you. We opened up with John Hope Bryant, and we're talking about, again, these promises that a lot of these companies are making. He talked about $62 billion. And I do believe it's important that this group, civil rights groups, and others hold these companies accountable for what they are promising. Because, as I said, I'm not interested in their press releases. I'm not interested in them feeling good on social media with the announcements. If they are empty promises, they need to be called on the carpet, because they surely don't mind the dollars that black folks spend on their products.
Oh, absolutely, Roland. It's really fascinating to me. In the wake of the murder of George Floyd, over $50 billion was pledged by corporate America to various black causes. But as John Hope Bryant said when you were interviewing him, much of these pledges went to stuff that companies are going to make money from. You know, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, whomever, they make money from a mortgage. So you're not giving me anything to, quote, give me a mortgage, because you're not going to give me a mortgage unless I qualify for it. They're not talking about money for mortgage readiness or anything like that. Oh, we're going to give up so many dollars in mortgages. That is BS. It's utter BS. And we could go down the list and talk about, of the $50 billion, there was a piece of the Post last year, of the $50 billion that was pledged, I think only about $5 billion of it went to anything that you or I would recognize. A little to the NAACP, a little here, a little there. Very little. George Floyd was killed by a police officer. Where are the organizations like Ron, you know, the brother I'm talking, Black Police Officers? Well, his organization should have got a slice of that. Where are the anti-police organizations? And I'm not saying defund the police, but I'm saying let's reform them. And you just had the conversation about the murderer of Atatianna, the sister in Dallas, and it's ridiculous that that white man would sleaze his behind up to a witness stand and tell so many lies. That's another story. But back to, you know, these folks are making money. Let's take the case. I wrote about it in one of my books about McDonald's. They put out a lovely poem. You know, we are all George Floyd. Lovely poem. While they were doing that, they were screwing black McDonald's operators. The number of black McDonald's operators went down by 50%. So you're George Floyd, but you don't want to have franchisees. And they've done all kind of dirty tricks to black franchisees, such as denying them the right to do business in the suburbs, relegating them to the hood, costing them, charging them too much for their rents. You mentioned predatory capitalism. This is it, alive and well and funky. Because basically, predatory capitalists basically take excess profits. Capitalism is about to each according to their means. There's labor, land, interest. But predatory capitalists try to take it all for the capitalists and less for the laborers. What we've seen in the past 20 years is a share of basically the share of that capital gets going up, the share of labor going down. A simple graph, if you look at productivity, labor productivity, you see something that looks like this, Roland. It's almost like a 45-degree angle, that in the past 20 years, people have become more productive, but guess what? Wages have been relatively flat because people are not paid for their productivity. So John, I love John and his work, and I'm very proud of the work that he's done and putting it together in his partnership with Ambassador Young, but I also enjoyed you all's exchange because the fact of the matter is, John is not going to hold the people but so accountable because that's how he pays his bills. Love the brother, think the world of him, but let's just be clear. A whole lot of us are making profit about the fact that a whole lot of other Black folks are not.
Avis, again, I always say if we're not having a money conversation, we're not having an American conversation. And I do have a sense of urgency. I'm not interested in being patient. Black folks have been being patient for a very long time. I was having a conversation earlier today, and we were talking about pension funds, and that, again, was with the SBA administrator, and talking about how they are trying to encourage these private equity people to become more diverse. And I had to remind folks, I said, wait a minute, let me be real clear with y'all. I said, pension fund, that money that private equity is using, it's largely coming from pension funds. That's money from Black and brown workers. I said, so frankly, we're having the wrong conversation. We're trying to have a conversation at the top. I said, when the money's coming from the bottom. I said, and so I've been encouraging Black and brown workers to challenge their state pension funds, saying, don't you give our money and invest it with largely white pension funds, largely white private equity, because that's the problem. These private equity people are literally using the pension funds of a lot of Black and brown workers to make essentially all white folks rich. And I'm like, no, the game has to change. And that pressure has to be put on them to change.
Absolutely. Nothing happens without that type of pressure. And I completely agree with you. I mean, we've been here now for well over 400 years, writ large, and specifically with this issue, we are still far behind, as well as many others, in terms of wealth acquisition and economic power. And so I completely agree. The time for waiting is long past. The time for action is now. And this is just another example of why it's so important to not only become more politically active with regards to advocating on behalf of all sorts of manner of rights and policy preferences, but specifically around acquiring economic power. And that is something that needs to be targeted not just at voting in terms of the national level, but specifically looking at what's happening at your state and local level. Because to your point, those types of decisions that are made around what happens to things like pension funds are largely at that level. So being active politically is very, very well tied into being able to push the buttons with regards to decision-making power that directly impacts our financial and economic well-being.
I'm a Congo, and I am always going to push and press because we've waited long enough. I mean, the reality is this here. Black folks have been paying into this system. We've been paying taxes. We've been funding other folks. We've been buying products. And I'm just simply not interested in waiting. I'm real clear when talking about Black-owned media. I am 54. I am not trying to sit here and like, let's wait another 25 years. No, damn that. I want to enjoy stuff today.
That's right. That's right.
And so if we are not pushing this system and putting pressure on this system, folk are not going to voluntarily change. It was Frederick Douglass who said, agitate, agitate, agitate. And he said, point blank, power concedes nothing without a demand, never have, never will. That's needed.
You're absolutely right. And the fact of the matter is, we talk so much in the political space about how Democrats take our vote for granted and all of that, at which we talk about that with a lot of truth. But that also translates over to exactly what we're talking about in the economic spaces. How many times are we going to watch companies come into our community or pull us away from other Black-owned businesses and just say nothing and not even care when they do nothing substantial to help elevate our communities? I remember when I was a kid, I was eating at a Black restaurant and somebody came in complaining, and the man standing next to me said, yeah, you're in here complaining, but if McDonald's did the same thing, you're going to still come back to them the next week. And so if we don't put the heavy pressure on these companies, they have no reason to want to change anything that they're doing. If we're going to still support them, if we're still going to support them over businesses in our own community, what's the point of them even wanting to do the work? And let's also be mindful of the fact that many of these corporations are also giving money to our opponents. These companies are out there funding some of these Republicans and some of these other organizations that are working directly against our interests. Why? Because those Marjorie Taylor Greene types and Kevin McCarthy types and their supporters, they are more vocal. And so really at the end of the day, it's almost like a double-edged sword. They're not giving us enough because we're not demanding enough. And then at the same time, they're giving money to people who are working against our own existence. So really at the end of the day, Black America, I love what he was saying in terms of right now is the opportunity that we need to take advantage of. We have to demand, demand, demand. How many times have I heard you say on this show, Roland, as Dr. King said, that individually we might be poor, but collectively we are rich. We have to start flexing our muscle. And this is about supply and demand. They will answer the call for more supply economically if we make the demand. We have to harness our power. Because like you said, Roland, I got kids and nieces and nephews. I'm not trying to wait. We have the ability to be able to enjoy this now and make sure that we're holding them accountable at the same time.
Indeed, indeed. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. I got to go to a break. We'll be right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered, broadcasting live in Atlanta from Operation Hope's Global Hope Forum right here on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, we welcome the Black Star Network's very own Roland Martin, who joins us to talk about his new book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. The book explains so much about what we're going through in this country right now, and how, as white people head toward becoming a racial minority, it's going to get, well, let's just say, even more interesting.
We are going to see more violence. We're going to see more vitriol, because as each day passes, it is a nail in that coffin.
The one and only Roland Martin on the next Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Faraji Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Teresa Griffin.
Hi, my name is LaToya Luckett, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. We're here in Atlanta. We're talking about entrepreneurship. Folks at SCORE, they're offering resources to reentry individuals to combat employment discrimination as well as recidivism, and again, encouraging them to become entrepreneurs. Now, the unemployment rate, folks, is 27.3% for the formerly incarcerated versus 5.8% for the general population. And those who do find jobs earn a median annual income of about $10,000. Now, SCORE mentors America's small businesses, and as a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration, SCORE is offering a program to formerly incarcerated individuals to help them start businesses and achieve the opportunity for the American dream. Joining us right now is Bridget Weston, the CEO of SCORE. Bridget, glad to have you here. The thing that's crazy, we have a society that keeps saying to people, who are formerly incarcerated. We don't want you to go back. We want you to do better. But you literally have the same society that holds it against people who are formerly incarcerated.
Well, and thank you for having me here. It is such a privilege to be on this show and talking about something that we believe is so important at SCORE. As you said, SCORE is here as a resource partner for anyone looking to start or grow a small business. And we work with those who are formerly incarcerated because we know that this is a great opportunity for those to be successful, put their skills and talents to work, and hopefully overcome some of the obstacles that unfortunately many people who are formerly incarcerated face. We know, like you said, the unemployment rate for those formerly incarcerated is so much higher, 27% compared to 5.8%. And we see entrepreneurship as a path forward for people to rebuild their lives after their time served. It can result in higher income and lower recidivism.
So what kind of businesses are you seeing formerly incarcerated people gravitate to? I've talked to many folks who are barbers, who are in transportation, who are limo drivers. And so what are you seeing?
Sure. When the clients we serve and across the country, we're seeing that those small businesses launched by people who are formerly incarcerated, first of all, they typically don't require a lot of human or financial capital, and we can talk more about why in a minute. Those businesses we see are cleaning services, construction companies, trucking, the service industries. And it's because of some of the hurdles that they're not able to get that financial or human capital. Unfortunately, financing is often denied due to criminal record. We also know that the requirements around probation or parole really limit their ability to spend time starting a business because they are required to have a job when they have probation or parole. And so one of the things that our formerly incarcerated clients are telling us is that if there is a way to support more formally those who are interested in starting a business, if they're attending sessions with a mentor or educational workshops, both of which SCORE provide for free, then that would potentially be an alternative, which again results in higher incomes and lower recidivism.
Questions from my panel. I'll first start with you, Avis. Go right ahead.
Sure. As you mentioned, it is such a hard thing for people who are incarcerated to be able to go and get a job. Could you talk or start their own business? That's why starting their own business is so important. In terms of the work that you do at SCORE to help formerly incarcerated be able to get into entrepreneurship, what do you see as the most critical step that those individuals have to overcome in order to not just start a business, but actually stay in business, which oftentimes is the most challenging part?
It is such a great question. Thank you so much for asking. There are a lot of skills and talents that individuals bring to being an entrepreneur. When we were talking about a cleaning business or a trucking or the construction, many people have that skill and talent. One of the things that SCORE can provide is that business knowledge, how to not only access the capital and the financing, but how to make sure you stay profitable. Unfortunately, one of the things we see throughout the nation is the failure rate of those who start. 20% of businesses fail in their first year and 50% fail in the first 5 years. When small businesses work with a mentor like someone at SCORE, they are 3 times more likely to stay in business and increase their revenue. So taking the time to really not just develop a business plan, but look at that and use it as a resource to see, am I pricing my products the right way? What is my competition doing? Am I getting my accounts payable and receivable in the right time frame so that I'm staying afloat and able to pay my employee or pay myself? Those are decisions that, fortunately, you don't have to go it alone because SCORE mentors are here to help make those decisions, to point you in the right direction. And we know that specifically with formerly incarcerated individuals, but frankly, many small business owners, they're not these wealthy individuals who have the money lying around to do this. Every penny and every moment counts. So taking the time to work with an expert who has been there and done that to avoid the pitfalls and be more successful is a great way to make sure that you're on the right path and sticking to it.
Omakongo?
Well, I definitely want to thank you, Ms. Weston, for the work that you've done. Both my wife and I have used SCORE in our business ventures, and so we're very familiar with what it is that you do. The question that I have is, people talk about nowadays, so many of our incarcerated, there are no programs within these prisons for them to develop skills. That people say, oh, it used to be like that back in the day, but now people are just kind of doing a bit. What are your thoughts on that as it relates to, are there programs that people who are incarcerated could be doing while they are already on the inside that could better prepare them when they get on the outside as it relates to their entrepreneurial skills?
We would love to have more involvement with those who are incarcerated. And actually, some of our SCORE chapters are or were doing that. Unfortunately, the pandemic really threw a wrench in some of our outreach programs. For example, in Connecticut, SCORE Connecticut were providing monthly business trainings at several of the prisons. They were giving them the tools and resources to be more prepared once they were released, and they knew they could reach out to SCORE as a lifeline. Again, unfortunately, the pandemic changed our ability to gain access inside those facilities. And so we would look forward to opportunities to starting that again across the nation. In the meantime, we do have virtual opportunities, mentoring, training. However, it's not like those in prison have 24/7 access to a computer or reliable internet, and frankly, don't even have that after when they do get out, which is why we're trying to build awareness about these resources that we have. We would welcome partnerships with other organizations that would be willing to help us get printed materials available, to send those to the prisons to help make those the resources and the education materials available so that at least they could get a leg up and get started if those are interested in starting.
Julian?
Thank you again for your work and for what you're doing. I think it's so very important. One of the barriers that formerly incarcerated people seem to collide with is occupational licensing. In Rhode Island, as an example, there are over 100 occupations that formerly incarcerated people can't qualify for. Now, if you robbed a bank, no, you can't go work at the bank. But you could be a barber, and in some states, you can't even get a barber license if you've been formerly incarcerated. So what can SCORE do, and what are others doing to remove some of these barriers?
It is a challenge that we see, and we're working to make sure others are aware of this as well. We do see a higher cost of doing business due to not only the limits on occupational licenses, because even if they are doing vocational programs in prison or attending our business trainings when we do them in person, those hours spent don't count towards the occupational licenses. There are also higher insurance premiums. So what SCORE can do is, one, continue to talk about what the issues are that are facing our formerly incarcerated clients, but also we can work to find ways to make this happen, help to allocate time to make sure we can still get those hours towards those licenses, help to find alternatives to how we fund those insurance premiums and make sure that the business is set up to be profitable. There are also other ways to find funding for businesses to help get started, whether it's grants or other organizations out there, other alternative sources, because we don't want people to start their business in greater debt and it's harder to climb out of. So these are things that our SCORE mentors really work to dig in and understand how all of these things tie in. It's not just one problem where you come in, you ask a question, and you get an answer, but we work to make sure everything's on the table so that these really hard challenges can be overcome bit by bit if we start a plan and bring the right resources together.
All right, then. Well, look, we certainly appreciate the work that you're doing. It is important. We cannot have a society where we just blow off the folks who are formerly incarcerated. Where can people get more information?
Thanks for asking. Go to score.org to get a mentor, to find our educational resources, and to get started with your business.
All right, then. Thanks a bunch. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we come back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I will tell you about the drama that comedian Mark Curry endured this weekend. Also, we hear from Senator Raphael Warnock as he spoke last night to open the Global Hope Forum here in Atlanta. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Yo, it's your man Dion Cole from Blackish, and you're watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Stay woke.
Last night here in Atlanta, and it was, of course, Senator Raphael Warnock speaking for the first time, really, since his election night speech on Tuesday. Here he is with John Hope Bryant. We live streamed the entire event, but here's an excerpt of what he had to say last night.
And I don't remember the exact details, but basically I was trying to keep a low profile behind Andrew Young in Atlanta, and you said, no, I need you to come and bring a Hope Inside location to Ebenezer. This is before any of this was in vogue. This was 2013, 2014.
2011, 2012 was when we built the building.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, we put a Hope Financial Literacy Center on the campus of our church.
And I said, I don't really think I can do that. I don't have the money. I haven't raised it. I don't know where to get it. And then he said to me, well, you know, John, Dr. King's father, Daddy King, served on the board of Citizens Trust Bank for 50 years. And there's a strong legacy of civil rights and what you call, John, civil rights, and people doing something with nothing. And if they can find a way to do it, I'm sure you can. But if you don't want to do this, anyway, we built a Hope Inside at Daddy King's building, which stands today at Ebenezer Church. And we're the first Hope Inside, or faith-based Hope Inside we've ever had
at a church.
At a church in the country. We're now at several, including Mason Temple in Memphis, yes. We're the last place that Dr. King preached at, yes. So you had a vision. You had a vision yourself of how free enterprise, capitalism, economics, access, and opportunity could serve the least of these God's children. This was your own thought process. Where did that come from? And how'd you marry that with theology?
Well, as I pointed out to you when we met all those years ago, Daddy King was on the board of a bank. Daddy King said, don't forget about the 11th and the 12th commandments. Number 11, thou shalt send your kids to college or technical school or somewhere. And number 12, thou shalt own some land because the Lord ain't making any more. And you know, Daddy King was a capitalist.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Martin Luther King Jr. was a little bit more critical of capitalism. He wanted capitalism to be more humane. And he had he questioned, he raised the kinds of questions to create what he called the beloved community. And he worried about the ways in which we could be given over to materialism, what he called the triplet evils of racism, militarism, and materialism. Right. So I live inside that tension. And it's the reason I'm on the banking committee, because it's very important that our banking system and our financial institutions work for everybody.
Yeah.
Which is why I've introduced legislation to address a whole range of issues like affordable housing. I've introduced legislation to help first-time homeowners buy houses, to get more equity in their homes earlier. Coming out of the pandemic, we saw a whole range of bad actors engaged in scams.
Yeah.
And so as chair of that committee dealing with consumer protection, I've been very focused on protecting consumers from the kinds of scams that we saw coming out of the pandemic and that we see all the time.
Yeah.
And while at the same time strengthening and understanding the importance of our banking system, we got to hold everybody accountable.
That's right.
And so we saw some in that space with these various kinds of fees that have to do with overdrafts and that kind of thing, which literally became how some of the banks stayed solvent.
Yeah.
Was through overdraft fees. And so we've held them accountable, we're pushing them hard, and a lot of them have made some regulations, or some of them have made regulations on their own, but I intend to keep pushing on that front. We gotta hold everybody accountable.
Countdown? No one's talking to me. All right, folks, that was U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock there. Guys, I don't have a signal here. Anthony, I don't have a signal here. So that was Senator Raphael Warnock last night opening up the Global Hope Forum. Going to a break. We come back. We will talk about Mark Curry, the comedian. Boy, he faced some serious drama, challenged, and he was staying in a hotel. Wait till we hear from the apology from the company. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. Back in a moment.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Yo, it's your man Dion Cole from Blackish, and you're watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Stay woke.
Terrell Porter has been missing from Houston since December 7th. The 16-year-old is 5 feet, 5 inches tall, weighs 170 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information about Terrell Porter should call the Houston, Texas Police Department at 713-884-3131, 713-884-3131. Folks, comedian actor Mark Curry live streamed a situation where he was being racially profiled while sitting in a hotel lobby in Colorado. So, folks, check this out. Some white guy, no logo, not identifying himself, walks up to Mark, who's a hotel guest, and he's asked for his employee identification. The employee refused, but the employee wanted to know, was he staying there? Watch this.
How you doing? Back up. Does he speak? Hello, back up. John, you've been here for 15 minutes.
No, sir, I've not been here.
Okay, well, we're gonna put you. All right.
People, he's asking me for I can't be in the hotel lobby. This hotel lobby, you cannot be in this hotel lobby if you're black and you're in Colorado Springs. So if you're black and you're in Colorado Springs, you can't be in the lobby. Wow, this is crazy, isn't it? So check it out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Look, they got a black man in Colorado Springs, so they send this dude.
Look. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The one he talks now. He talks. Yeah. Yeah. So a black man can't be. Yeah. I'm trying to pull a race car, boy. So
we got an Uncle Tom calling me, say I'm doing the race car, but he hanging with this dude. This is what it's all about, people. He called me the race car.
Yeah.
No, sir. I've asked you very politely.
What'd you ask me, sir? I can't hear.
Are you a guest of the hotel?
I can't hear you. Say it again.
You heard me.
I couldn't hear you. My hard of hearing. And then the brother here.
on TikTok or Facebook? Which one is it?
He a brother. Look, he a brother.
But he hanging with the white man, saying I'm pulling a race car. Look at the way this motherfucker look. He need a race car.
So the Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, they released the following statement about the incident. We appreciate your concerns. The hotel's owner and management team are working to make this right. Room is being refunded, and Mr. Curry has an open invitation to return anytime in the future at no cost. Hotel is also revisiting staff training to ensure all feel welcome. Here's what's so crazy here, Amakongo. He's sitting in the lobby. This guy just walks up to Mark. He's questioning him. You don't know if he works there or not. He looks like some random guy just asking Mark Curry, do you stay here? He's in the lobby. What the hell?
Absolutely. And I mean, it almost ties into our segment with the murder trial, with not identifying yourself. He has no name tag. He's not talking about calling security. He's not asking for anything. And then but when it comes down to it, it's none of your business, dude, at the end of the day. And so even with the other guy who he calls over, this is, I mean, in this day and age, it kind of shows that people don't really care if we got cameras or not. They don't care about being viral stories. They are going to do whatever they feel to try to assert their authority in some way, shape, or form. And it all is rooted in jealousy. And quite honestly, it's all rooted also in what you talk about in your book, White Fear. At the end of the day, the fear of a black man might be in this space, or a black woman might be in this space and be able to enjoy something that I can't enjoy, even though I work here. And that type of anger, unfortunately, leads to situations like this, but it can also, in situations, lead to incidences where we can get arrested, or we can get shot, or profiled in ways that are not going to be beneficial to us physically. But lastly, I just want to say to Mr. Curry that, you know, Uncle Tom was not a sellout. You know, he died, didn't snitch out and rat out his you know, colleagues, former fellow enslaved people as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. But really, at the end of the day, this is about fear and it's about jealousy. And I hope the hotel deals with a little bit more consequences than that. And I would like to hear, lastly, what happened to that man who stood there stalking him.
Absolutely. And Avis, I mean, this is the stuff that we talk about all the time. Brother just in the hotel, chilling in the lobby. okay, and all of a sudden you walk up to me. I wondered, did this guy, did he walk up to everybody in the lobby, asking them to see a room key and to see if they actually stayed there?
Yeah, and what really struck, great question, and what really struck me in terms of the video footage there, I didn't see anybody else in the lobby. I mean, it's not like there was a need for seats. Where the hell were the people, okay? Which suggests that there was lots of space there. What was he hurting by taking up that one space? Look, where are the rest of the people? Where are they at? Where's all the people that supposedly are in rooms that need that space in the lobby? I don't see them. So to me, this is really about, I think at the root of it is this issue of jealousy, as was mentioned. I mean, Wyndham's are okay. They're not the best hotels in the world, but I will say this, you know, perhaps that person who works there is jealous and doesn't even think it's possible that a Black man could afford to stay there. And so there he goes to approach him with the Black sidekick who apparently needs his job. So he's going to sit there and man corner him as he's here harassing Mark Curry. It is really an issue of not only white fear, but at the root of it, white jealousy.
You know, Julian, again, we talk about this stuff all the time. Look, I have been to numerous hotels, and there are times I've been to hotels, I wasn't even staying there, but I was visiting somebody. I was waiting on somebody. And I get Wyndham's statement, oh, we're going to be focusing on training. No. You got to go a little bit further, because you got to ask the question, what made you think that you decided to want to walk up to this man? And I would love to see the security video of the lobby to see if there's anybody else who he walked up to.
You know, Roland, this is economic envy at its height. Economic envy is what leads to lynching. We can go back to the history and talk about economic envy. When white people see that Black people have too much, they come at us. They've come at us in terms of causing our banks to fail, our businesses to fail. Black Wall Street is a classic example of economic envy. But more than that, this is pure caucasity. This is caucasity at its absolute worst. If that man works at the hotel, he needs to be fired. This little milquetoast statement about better staff training, how about just some common sense? You just do not walk up to some random brother who's sitting there minding his business. As you say, you and I and everybody on this panel, we travel, we've been to hotels. Hell, I've sat in a hotel lobby, minding my business, not staying there, not getting anybody else, just getting a cup of coffee because I had an hour to kill. And I wish somebody would come up and say something to me. It would be another segment of Roland Martin Unfiltered, because there would be consequences. But in any case, if this guy works for Wyndham, he needs to be fired. This staff training stuff, this is not common sense. This is viral, ignorant caucasity and economic envy. And like Ava said, I mean, Wyndham's ain't all that. I mean, if it was the Ritz, it wouldn't be another story, but I could see the caucasity. But, you know, you sit there, Wyndham is like a 3-star at best. Come on now. And this guy, look at him. He's smirking and carrying on. And I don't know, poor little brother, like somebody said, he obviously needs his job. But the very presence of Black people in too many spaces is threatening to white people. Right. That's why a FedEx driver, we talked about on the show a couple weeks ago, got followed and shot at because he was in a white neighborhood. That's why so many things happen. And it's just unacceptable, but corporate America has a role to play. They need to put their foot down. Like FedEx needs to stop delivering to neighborhoods where the drivers can't be safe. Here in LA, people are talking about Food Lion, not Food Lion, I'm sorry, it's a Family Dollar. They have people being shot. So don't go to Family Dollar. But most importantly, when to fire that American farmer, fire him.
And so this is also why it's important when you to go live. You can show exactly what is happening in real time. And that's exactly what happened here with comedian Mark Curry. All right, folks, when we come back, Karen Bass sworn in as the next mayor of Los Angeles. And also in our Fit, Live, Win segment, we'll talk food disorders, eating disorders in African Americans. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart Smart TV. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And be sure to get a copy of my book, White Feet, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at all bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or download your book from Audible. We'll be right back.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Chrisette Michelle.
Hi, I'm Chaley Rose, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, eating disorders are real. This ain't just a white thing. It also impacts African Americans as well. And is often underrepresented, underreported, these eating disorders that take place in the black community. Joining us right now, Dr. Rachel Good. She's an assistant professor at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And Doc, glad to have you here. Anytime we talk about eating disorders, again, it normally has a white face. But the reality is, this impacts African Americans as well, especially African American women.
Yes. I'm so glad you brought that up, because we have been telling for years this has been a white woman's thing. And that has caused us to overlook, to not treat. As black women, black people, we don't know what eating disorders look like when we have them. Our doctors, when we go to get help, they don't know if we have an eating disorder. And so often they're ignoring it. It causes our type 2 diabetes. It's related to obesity. It's related to heart disease. Eating disorders affect us more than we realize.
So in terms of someone who's watching, in terms of, how do we, look, what are the signs? What are we looking for? Yeah. And again, we're seeing it's younger and younger. And one of the things that we're also seeing, the impact that social media is having on young women and young men earlier and earlier when it comes to these eating disorders.
Yeah. So there's several types, Roland, of eating disorders. And the one that we see showing up most among black Americans is binge eating disorder. And so what happens if someone has a binge eating episode? We're common with overeating, right? We know what it feels like. We're at the dinner table, your food, your belt's too tight, you got to unbuckle your pants. But when we have a binge eating episode, it's like you can't stop eating even though you want to, right? So often people feel like a snowball. It's kind of rolling down a hill and it is just out of control. And so often, sometimes people will eat in secret. People feel shame. People feel like, there's just no hope. And often there's a stigma. Who are you going to tell? Who's going to, you can be hiding in plain sight because people don't know what to look for. Often in my studies, when I'm working with women, I'm usually having to educate them about this. And they are wondering, why am I not, being able to accomplish my weight loss goals, or why am I struggling with type 2 diabetes? And often, because people don't really assess for eating disorders, our physicians don't always feel comfortable assessing, people aren't always getting the tools that they need, right, to heal their relationship with food. to recognize that sometimes it's more than being that desire to be thin. In our community, we've seen it's racism, it's trauma, it's history of sexual abuse. For Black women, it's the strong Black woman syndrome, just feeling like you just have to just be strong and, take everything on. So it's complicated. It's really complicated.
Questions for my panel. Julian, you're first.
Sister, thank you for the work. It's so very important. I want to ask, I'll tell you a quick little story about a friend. I called her up and said, "What you doing?" She said, "Eat the cheesecake." I said, "Surely you mean a slice of cheesecake." She said, "No, I'm upset. I went to Costco. I'm going to eat the whole thing." How much of this binge eating is self-medication?
Oh, it's so much. I think especially for Black women, eating food has been one of our most culturally acceptable coping mechanisms. It's the way we take care of ourselves. It's the way, because we don't have permission to say that we've had enough, right? And so often our eating is the way that we're doing that. And so, again, ultimately, we need to change the systemic conditions so Black women have the care that they need, so they don't have to feel like they have to cope with other, make up their own coping mechanisms. But food really has just been our way. It's inexpensive, right? You can get what you need quickly, and people really have used it to take care of themselves.
Makongo.
So, Dr. Good, one of the questions that I have when you talk about this binge eating is I have a concern about access, right? We all know that on all levels, binge eating can be dangerous, but is there a difference when you're in, say, a wealthier neighborhood and you got access to food that has better ingredients from the restaurants, from the stores, more organic and so on and so forth? We know it's still an issue, but I'm assuming that are there deeper consequences when the food that you're binging is really unhealthy, coming from the fast food restaurants, high sugar that's in some of our local stores because we live in food deserts? Is there a discrepancy there?
Yeah, what we see, so when people have a binge eating episode, often it starts because what we see, it's related sometimes to poverty, right? People not having enough. And so we've seen, especially in individuals who are SNAP recipients, because, the allocations happen monthly, once a month. And so people usually have a period of time where they have a week or so where they don't have access to enough food. And so they are just, just trying to make it through the best they can. But once those benefits are restored, we see people our bodies want to keep us alive. So it's like, well, I don't know when the next time you're going to get something to eat. So I want to make sure you have what you need. And it is often those highly palatable, high sugary foods. Like there's often those things. It just makes it easier. Those chemicals in the food, those things just make it, sometimes they're created in a way to make us want them more. And so we're really fighting against a big uphill battle.
Avis?
So I'm really interested in sort of unpacking this focus on eating disorders as it relates to Black women, because I know typically when we hear about eating disorders, typically the first thing that comes to mind is maybe anorexia, then bulimia. And I really haven't heard a lot about binge eating. Do you think that that is the case because it is racialized? It's more likely to happen among African American women? And then on the flip side, what about the opposite end of eating disorders in which we normally hear about, with regards to the anorexia and bulimia? What sort of prevalence is that within the African American community, and how do we address sort of both sides of those coins?
Yeah, it's so important. So one of the challenges with eating disorders is that in order to get a diagnosis, you have to often go to a specialty eating disorder clinic.
It's 5 o'clock.
And you have to go to, maybe a therapist or a psychologist, someone who is trained. And so often for Black Americans, we get most of our treatment from primary care physicians. And so what we have seen is that the primary physicians don't often get the training. And because of that racialized piece, they are more likely, when they see us, they say, oh, well, this person's they don't have anorexia. They probably are more likely to have type 2 diabetes or obesity. And so we are getting talked to more about those things. But what we're realizing is that binge eating disorder, bulimia nervosa, another eating disorder, but this time where people may find a way to purge the food after they eat, both of those are the most common eating disorders in Black Americans. Anorexia nervosa, what we know right now is it is not as common because often people have to have a significantly low body weight, and that hasn't really been the case. We haven't seen that literature in samples of Black women. Not to say we don't struggle with, they call it atypical anorexia nervosa, where people may not have that low body weight, but still have that fear of eating. Because we are still in these, especially when we're in white spaces, we really just find ourselves often, trying to deal with that pressure, that we can't even often name. And it can manifest in us struggling with our body image, struggling with our weight.
All right. Dr. Good, we appreciate you joining us, offering your perspective and advice, and hopefully folks have learned something from it, because this is an issue that has actually killed people and it destroys their bodies. And even if they do survive, it can lead to significant health problems later in life.
Yes. Yeah, we just have to continue to make us aware of all the things that affect Black people so that we can get our ultimate healing. So thanks for having me on.
Okay, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, that is it for us. So let me thank Avis, Omakongo, and Julian for joining us. Folks, tomorrow we will have a lot more from a Global Hope Forum. First of all, a lot of y'all on YouTube, y'all should be hitting that damn like button. Why do I see 950 likes? We should easily be over 1,000. Y'all taking too long. So tomorrow, we'll hear from the SBA administrator. We'll hear from Ambassador Andrew Young, Bishop T.D. Jakes, and others as we close out the Global Hope Forum here in Atlanta. Again, if you missed today's events, we live stream the events all day. Go to the Black Star Network, the app, go to our YouTube channel. You will see the entire program last night as well as today. And, of course, we'll be live streaming tomorrow as well. Don't forget, folks, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And, of course, you can also join our Bring the Funk fan club, where your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do. Send your check and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And folks, do me a favor. If you're sending Cash App, please double check the name, the bottom name. Let me explain to you. I'm going to send this to my people right now. There is a fraudulent Cash App that's using our logo. And what they have done is, so just letting y'all know, when you go to Cash App, the hashtag we use is Roland Martin Unfiltered. The actual Cash App is $RM Unfiltered 1D. I just told the folks in the control room, pull up Group Me, and you'll pull that graphic up. And so what someone has done is they have put our actual Cash App in the top part, but then the bottom part has 3 Ds. That is a fraudulent Cash App. And so they're using our logo. I've already notified Cash App. We've been dealing with this crap for the last couple of years where folks are scamming people. They're using our logo. And they're using our name, the top name. So when you're sending someone Cash App, it's the bottom name, not the top. It's the bottom one. So when you see hashtag Roland Martin Unfiltered, the actual Cash App for us is $RM Unfiltered. That's our only Cash App for our show. That's it. And so these other ones are fraudulent. And so please be very careful when you're giving. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And, of course, get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at all bookstores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target. You can also download a copy from Audible. And so we appreciate it. Again, we'll see y'all tomorrow bright and early right here from the Global Hope Forum in Atlanta. Until then, holla!